And so Trump is saying it all has to go. We're going to tear it all down. And when it comes to Ukraine, look at what he's tearing down. NATO. Mark my words. We're not going to be in NATO much longer. We may not be in NATO by the end of summer. And when that goes, if you want to think about programs that do nothing except serve as employment vehicles of people who do nothing for political purposes, the NATO bureaucracy is this: think tank after think tank, working group, advisory committee. Hundreds of thousands of people are employed who do nothing, zero. And it's all paid for by the American taxpayer. And the Democrats benefit from it because they stack all these things. All these people that normally couldn't get a job anywhere get these highly funded sinecures at think tanks to sit down and just spew propaganda. And they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this by the American taxpayer. And if Trump takes it to the next level, which he could, because he has a attorney general and a director of the FBI that are not of the system, they should all be arrested.
And just like that, Scott Ritter paints a picture of a world on the brink of chaos, a world where the United States may walk away from NATO, leaving behind shattered alliances, powerless bureaucracies, and a crumbling security order. If this unfolds, nothing will ever be the same again. Scott Ritter is not just warning about political reshuffling, he's predicting a tectonic shift. He's describing a scenario where NATO, the backbone of Western defense for decades, could be dismantled overnight. The result? A vacuum of power, broken institutions, and a ruthless purge of those who have long thrived under the old system. But while Scott Ritter's statements have left many questioning Ukraine's resilience and the West's role, the reality on the battlefield tells a far more urgent and unsettling story. The storm is already here, and it has a name: Russia's Northern Offensive. As we speak, Russian forces are surging forward in multiple directions, tearing through Ukrainian defenses. What's unfolding right now is not just a repositioning or a limited engagement. It is the prelude to a brutal and relentless offensive that could reshape the entire front line, and Ukraine is scrambling to hold the line. Thunder Russia prepares new northern offensive Lyman Front collapses. Full section. The 27th of March, 2025, marked a turning point. The calm before the storm is over. According to none other than Ukrainian President Zelensky himself, Russia is preparing for a massive spring offensive targeting both the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. Zelensky, with alarming clarity, stated, "Putin is trying to buy time and is preparing for a spring offensive. We see the preparations. We are sharing intelligence with our allies. We must look at the situation with eyes wide open." This is not a vague threat. This is a clear signal from the president of a nation that has been locked in bloodshed for over 3 years. And this time, Russia is not hiding its intentions. The Sumy region, once shielded by Ukraine's defensive lines, is now bracing for the full force of Russia's military might. Why Sumy? Why now? The answer is chillingly simple. Russia's goal is not necessarily to capture the city of Sumy itself, but to create a secure buffer zone, a death zone between Russian territory and Ukrainian positions. The Kremlin wants to carve out a safety belt that would allow it to dominate the northern frontier, threaten Kharkiv directly, and pin Ukrainian forces in the north, preventing them from reinforcing other critical sectors of the front. Following the collapse of Ukraine's defensive lines during Russia's first major push in this area, Ukrainian forces had no choice but to fall back. After that initial victory, Russia began redeploying troops elsewhere, to the south, to Bakhmut, to Zaporizhia, and to the Donetsk front. But Zelensky and his command quickly realized the terrifying truth. Those troops could return at any moment, reinforced and refitted, and when they do, they will come not just for isolated villages, but for entire sectors. In response, Ukraine hastily launched a counter-offensive in the Belgorod direction, trying to destabilize Russian supply lines and buy precious time. Ukrainian forces even managed to grab partial control over Demidovka and reach the outskirts of Popovka. But these successes were short-lived. Russian forces, entrenched and well-supplied, repelled repeated Ukrainian assaults. Ukrainian troops suffered significant losses and were forced to retreat. As of today, March 27th, Ukrainian forces have shifted their focus to destroying Russian bridges and logistics hubs in the north. This desperate tactic aims to slow down the looming Russian counterattack. But the situation is dire. Russian troops in Demidovka, Popovka, and Grafka are facing logistical headaches, relying on muddy, broken roads through forests and fields. But they are not encircled. They are patient. They are waiting. And their patience is about to pay off. Russian planners have recalibrated. The redeployment is on hold. The focus is now laser sharp. Create the buffer zone first. Settlements like Yakovka, Mira, and Uroy have been marked. These villages will likely be the first to fall in Russia's next decisive move. Already, the Russians are dangerously close. In the north, their forces have secured positions near Yunikivka. The dramatic footage of Russian soldiers waving their flag at the Suja border checkpoint sent shockwaves through Ukrainian command. There is no ambiguity. The Russians have crossed into Ukrainian territory and they are moving fast. In just 24 hours, Russian units captured swaths of land, shifting the lines significantly. Ukrainian pockets of resistance, particularly between Alashny and Gogolivka, are now at risk of total encirclement. Russian pincers are closing. They are attacking from the north, moving through the village of Milovoy, and if they manage to seize Alashny, Ukrainian forces trapped in Gogolivka will face a catastrophic cauldron situation, a complete encirclement, cut off from reinforcements, supplies, and retreat. Ukrainian commanders are running out of options. The only realistic choice left is a tactical withdrawal towards Lonya. But such a retreat means conceding more territory to Russia, bringing them even closer to the gates of Sumy. The danger does not stop there. Russian forces are on the verge of finishing the battle for the western part of Sumy Oblast. Once the villages of Gwava and Garnal fall, only 1 or 2 settlements will remain under Ukrainian control in the north. Today, Russian units breached Gwava itself. Reliable reports confirm that at least 15% of the village is now firmly in Russian hands. Once Gwava is subdued, the path opens wide for Russia to complete its secure zone. And make no mistake, this is no isolated operation. Russia is executing a two-pronged strategy. Even as the Sumy region burns, Russia is simultaneously hammering the Lyman Front to the east. In the Kupiansk-Lyman axis, the situation has turned into a nightmare for Ukraine. Over the past 24 hours, Russian forces secured full control of Tierney. The capture was not speculative. Even Ukrainian sources confirmed that the village has fallen. Further south, settlements like Yampolivka and Makiivka have already been under Russian control for weeks, though conflicting reports clouded the timeline. But now, the fog of war has lifted, and the picture is grim. Russia has pushed Ukraine back significantly on this critical front. This collapse is not just a setback, it is a domino effect. With the Lyman Front cracking, Russian forces can now pressure Ukrainian positions along the Oskil River line and even threaten the Slovyansk-Kramatorsk defensive belt, one of the most vital in eastern Ukraine. And while some analysts suggest Russia will halt after creating the buffer zone around Sumy, President Zelensky himself warns that this could just be the first stage. The forests around Sumy provide natural protection, but they also present a cruel dilemma. Russian forces may be slowed, yes, but they could also exploit flanking routes to envelop Sumy from the west. What happens next? Zelensky believes Russia only has a few months before the summer mud and Western-supplied weapons complicate the offensive. But in these next few months, the battlefield will be shaped decisively. If Russia succeeds in fully securing Sumy's buffer zone and simultaneously collapses the Lyman Front, the northern and eastern sectors will become a launching pad for further offensives towards Kharkiv, Poltava, or even Dnipro. Ukrainian generals know this. Western allies know this. The clock is ticking. And make no mistake, the Russian soldiers grinding forward are not acting alone. Behind them is a machine, the Kremlin's war economy, its growing coordination with North Korea and Iran, and its unrelenting ability to send fresh waves of troops and armor into the fray. The next few weeks will be brutal. Ukraine's defenders, stretched thin and battered, are facing one of the most dangerous moments since the first full-scale invasion. The thunder is no longer just on the horizon. It is crashing directly onto the front lines.